The Allegheny Journal is delighted to host this afternoon Clifton Forge Town Manager Chuck Unroe, who recently announced a monster federal grant. I'm not sure the town council even knew about it, but it's a huge bit of great news, and we welcome him today. Good to see you, Chuck.
Good to see you, Jerry, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about this. And just so you know, the council did know about it. We talked about this a year ago. It was about this time last year that we actually applied for this grant. If you remember, we applied for 2 congressionally directed spending allotment requests, and we weren't successful in the one for downtown revitalization, but we were successful in the one that you're referring to.
Well, they certainly act surprised at 1.8. Am I correct? $1.8 million. And Mr. Town Manager, apparently this big grant will allow for the upgrading of the town's wastewater treatment and sewer operations.
That is correct. It's an allotment in the amount of $1.84 million. The largest allotment in the Shenandoah region of Virginia that was awarded through the federal budget. I'm really thankful for Senator Kaine and Senator Warner championing this effort to help small communities get the recognition and funding that they need for infrastructure repairs and overall improved quality of life. What this is going to allow us to do is make needed repairs to our wastewater pump stations. We have 3 wastewater pump stations in town that are old. They're constantly having maintenance issues that are costing us tens of thousands of dollars a year. We have one that's constantly in a situation of the least little bit of rainfall and overflow because it can't meet the demand. And that's a constant DEQ report that takes time. And also, Public Works has to babysit that on a weekend or in the nighttime when it's going on to monitor the flow and how much. So this is going to give us a shot in the arm that we need to bring those up to modern technology, be able to manage those both online and electronically, and actually eliminate one of them, hope, so that we don't have that constant overflow threat.
You know, Chuck, I don't think the average citizen out here realizes that, the cost of not just maintenance, but the cost to build a modern day pump station and the volume that, you're talking about. But think about this. Think about the interest of even over a 30-year period of coming up with $1.8 million that the citizens won't have to come up with now because you and town council have been able to garner this grant.
Yeah, and what this is it's a 20% match on our part. So our match is around $400,000. We have set that aside from our previous ARPA money allotment that we had gotten and have purposely held on to that $400,000 in anticipation of receiving this grant, so that we would make sure we had our part of it in order. So actually what we have is $2.24 million to work with for these upgrades.
Wow.
And again, all of this money, Jerry, is money that has not come out of the town's regular budget. The $400,000 match is ARPA money that we had in reserve, and the 1.84 is the congressional directed spending allotment that we received. So,
and what's in the future is there, maybe I said the town council was surprised. Maybe I thought that because I was so surprised. I was standing there, listening to the video of you announcing this, and I thought, wow, since you've been the town manager, I believe it was July of 2021.
November of 2021.
There's been
2020. I'm sorry, November 2020.
we'll get this way eventually. But I think the total number of grants, a dollar amount, is in excess of $6 million. This is huge.
I don't have the exact number. I would have to get that from Wendy, but it's somewhere climbing up in that bracket. Yes.
So, are there any big home runs that haven't been announced for the future? I know you were working, at least in the past year or so, trying to work with VDOT on a piece of paving in the west end of town, but I realize that is, and sometimes a hit or miss situation. VDOT has huge demands on its cash.
Actually, that project has just been reopened as recently as last week. The representatives from VDOT reached out to me, and as long as we can accomplish that in this upcoming fiscal year, we're going to reopen that project. We're ready to go on our side of it. We've got our engineers coming back in to rescope the work to make sure we're all handicapped and ADA accessible, and looking at including some bike and walking lanes on Ridgeway Street when we do that. So that project has been reopened with more money allocated to the project from VDOT than we had before. So that hopefully that's going to happen.
Well, back to the sewer issue one more time. I wonder, I'm just Joe Q public here. I own a house in Clifton Forge. I'm just a regular tax-paying guy, and I wonder how many citizens realize not just the cost of handling wastewater throughout the town, but over the years, it's been nearly impossible to control what is called I&I. And that plagues communities. It plagues Covington and almost all the localities because water coming into the sewer system has to be treated. And worse, if it gets over the capacity, then it flows into a nearby river or stream, and then DEQ gets after you and their fines or, consent agreements and that kind of thing. Will the grant in any way help address I&I issues?
It will help address a lot of the I&I issues. And like you said, what I&I is here is actually water from not normal household or business use coming into the water line. It's groundwater that is as a result of rain or mountain springs that we have an abundance of here, infiltrating the wastewater system. And that drives up your treatment cost. So at least on the eastern end of town, this grant opportunity is going to take care of a lot of that I&I issue out there along the Route 60 corridor.
And is this I&I issue, are we talking about, a couple $100 a month, or are we talking about tens of thousands of dollars a year?
We're talking tens of thousands of dollars a year. And it's all due to an aging system. Every locality in this country has an aging infrastructure system. And every locality, I don't care how big they are or how small they are, is fighting the same battle and the same struggle with these issues. The only difference is the bigger the locality, the bigger the problem. Well,
I guess I'm impressed, not just because we report on such issues, but we're not aware that the town of Clifton Forge has a grant writer. Well, we are now, you and your staff. And these kinds of things, both state and federal, you're not talking about a 10-page report or this or that. You're sometimes talking about tens and dozens of pages, all kinds of requirements, all kinds of time that it takes to get the paperwork done to get this money. So, hats off to you and your staff for pulling this off with no grant writer position whatsoever.
We work really closely on these things with our engineers and folks that we count on to advise us and guide us and assist us with this. And most of these bigger grants and federal grants, they take anywhere from 30 to 45 days to get written and appropriately submitted.
Well, thanks once again for taking the time out to explain that. It came at the end of your report for those of you out there in viewer land, at the end of Mr. Unroe's report that he normally gives to council. It came at the very end. And what great news, Mr. Town Manager. I mean, it's also, it seems like it's pretty good timing.
It is. And Jerry, thank you for allowing us to talk about this.
See you soon.
Thanks.